Hello, welcome to Super Lady Hero Hour here on Fanversation. I am your host, Yael Tygiel. I'm joined by the amazing KB. Hello, KB.
Hello, Yael. Yes, I am KB, the other co-host, as Yael said, and thanks for joining today. Boy, when the boys kicks up, it kicks up. So today we are going to talk about season 2, episode 7. But first, we had a lot of superhero news again this week. Ironically, I felt like it was just coming back to back. So let's kick it off with Victor Zsasz headed to Batwoman.
Yes. This news is super exciting. Here's why it's exciting. A, I knew about it. And B, and B, they've chosen an actor from Gotham to come and be on Batwoman as Victor Zsasz. You're probably going, oh, they chose the guy who played Victor Zsasz on Gotham to cross over? No,
they didn't. Surprise.
I'm so surprised. We have Alex Morph, who was on Gotham as a different character, is going to be playing Victor Zsasz on Batwoman.
So I will say I loved Chris Messina's take in the Birds of Prey film. Yes. So I am excited to see what we're going to get in this version. This is actually the first major villain news from the show. So, I feel like it's kind of, ever since they've restructured and we have a new Batwoman. So I feel like they're off to a really good start because I am curious to see his take on Victor. But yeah, I did not know about it. So yeah.
It's funny because I also liked Chris Messina's performance in Birds of Prey, but I preferred Anthony Carrigan, who played Victor Zsasz in Gotham. And so I was like, all right, let's bring that. But also personally, I had some ideas of who I would have cast. And to be fair, none of these people.
Okay, who would have been your top choice then?
I think I definitely don't remember the actor's name, but he is on Good Girls and he plays Rio, and I think
yes.
Gang Friend would be perfect.
Why is his name
escaping me? It's Manny something.
Okay, his name escapes me, but he is fantastic, and also that would be a good pick. I didn't really think of that, but yeah. Okay, I'm with you.
Because I feel like it's just anyway, I just think they could have done more with the role, but they're choosing to keep it within the DC world already.
Okay, yeah, his name is Manny Montana. So yes. Yeah. Honestly, that would not be a bad pick. So I'm with you there, Yael. But let's see what happens on Batwoman. I cannot wait to see what happens on Batwoman. They're stacking it, and I feel like it's rejuvenated in a lot of ways. And so we're going to get to see some things, hopefully, that are really exciting. So also in news, what? Miss Marvel found their lead for Disney Plus.
Oh, I'm so stoked.
She's so adorable.
So if you missed it, the news is that an actress, her name is Iman Vellani, I believe. She's a Canadian actress. I only know that because Canadian networks were like, and another one joins the MCU after Tatiana Maslany joined as She-Hulk. And then we have the guy from Kim's Convenience who's going to be in the movie. So they're very excited. Canadians are very excited to be taking over the MCU.
Canadians deserve, right? Yeah. So I'm yes, I cannot wait. She is, kind of relatively unknown. So I think that that's a good thing in the sense that this role, we'll get to see what she can do. It'll catapult her in other ways for other projects, obviously in the future. But Disney Plus, still talking about WandaVision's coming in this year. So, we'll see. And we'll see how this kind of impacts, Miss Marvel, because as we know, MCU's all about their timelines, honey. So like, I honestly don't even know where this is going to fall or slot into their projected plans. And right now, since things are being shaken up a little bit everywhere, who knows? But I am excited to see what she can bring to the role. Like this comic is so groundbreaking. And so, yeah, I'm all about it. Let's have more diversity.
Yeah, absolutely. My only knowledge of Ms. Marvel is the it's Marvel Rising, the animated series that they made that was kind of on YouTube, kind of on Disney. That series is where I got introduced to this character, and I'm very stoked to see how this all plays out on Disney Plus. Very exciting news.
Yay! Okay, and finally,
yes,
Jamie Foxx is back in. He is coming to the newly vamped MCU. He's returning as Electro. You know, I'm going to be the first to say I did not hate the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man film.
Wow.
I really liked them. But I will say that Electro was not one of my favorite villains from those films. Like, I thought that Andrew Garfield pulled off like a really endearing Spider-Man, but the villains were kind of for me. So I am excited to see what he's going to bring kind of the second time around and what that's going to look like. And I assume there are going to be lots of upgrades. There better be some upgrades, honestly. That's kind of going to be my biggest complaint, is if there are no upgrades, because, whoo, boy, we have done a lot better with CGI. So I am hoping that this Electro is a lot better. So
I am excited about your excitement because I saw this news and went, please don't. That's it. Just don't. I think with our current Spider-Man is doing so well, it has separated itself from the others. It's like there's stuff being built there that I support. Like, don't drag us down. No offense to Jamie Foxx. I love Jamie Foxx, but don't drag us down to the Spider-Man storyline we all want to forget. Like, we want to take all that, no offense to you, all the Andrew Garfield stuff and just like forget it happened.
No, my heart. I loved the Andrew Garfield ones. I will say, I even like the Tobey Maguire ones. Like, They each served their purpose for that decade, I feel like is the best way to put it. Like, they did what they had to do for that decade. Do I believe that Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man yet? I do. I absolutely think that he is the best one we've seen thus far. But I am kind of curious if they're even going to mention what happened. Like, I don't know how they're going to do this. Like, I think that for me is kind of the biggest question, like, because I'm assuming that what we're supposed to assume is that he's from a different universe. I assume that they're going to be tackling the multiverse a bit more heavily. And, you know, we saw Electro in one universe, and then he's going to be in this kind of new universe. That's what I assume. But I mean,
if that is what they're doing, then I'll allow it and accept it and welcome it. If that is not what they're doing, then I don't want it.
If this is the same universe and he's just older and he's disgruntled yet again, because he was disgruntled in the first one, and he felt like he was being overlooked, and then he became Electro, then, you know, something else happens in that same regard. No. So I mean, they have to do something fresh and new, I feel like. And Kevin Feige hasn't really let us down too much yet. I mean, I will say I say this repeatedly because I do not need it. I do not need a Black Widow film. Like, he let us down in the sense that he gave it to us way too late, and who cares at this point. But I will say, for the most part, like, his vision has been really good. So I'm just going to trust that this portion of the vision in the next phase of the MCU is going to be good too.
It's so funny that you say that you don't need it now because you still haven't gotten it. Like,
yes.
Just to be clear, they were like, we're not going to do it when it should be done. We are going to give it to you when it shouldn't be done. And then we're going to go, we're not going to give it to you. We're just going on to it.
And then also pandemic. So like, maybe you'll get it in 2021. And it's like, okay. Or also just can it and like, let's move forward. But
just slide it onto Disney Plus and don't tell anyone.
honestly. Just let it be a Christmas surprise. Because I just don't have time. It'll be a Christmas surprise for someone, not me, because I don't care about it at all. But here we are. And I love the MCU and I love the other films, but I do not need that one. Except I also love Rachel Weisz. So like maybe, you know.
You're so torn. I love all your thoughts. I do like the idea of a Christmas surprise. Speaking of surprises, surprise, if you haven't heard, we got a chance to chat with some of the lovely ladies of The Boys. We talked to Karen, Aya, Aaron, Colby, Chantel, and the costumer, Laura Jean Shannon. All of those interviews are currently available right here on Fanversation's YouTube channel, as well as on fanversation.com. And bonus, there's a link to a playlist literally below this video in the description. I wanted to make it as easy as possible.
And it was super fun. So please watch them because all of them were so generous, so kind. There may or may not be a few spoilers that you might want to check out that happened before the season finale. And after this explosive episode 7. So definitely check it out for sure. And shout out to Yael because she edited them and they're gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. Some of us hate editing.
Some of us are actually both of us, but only one of us actually knows how to do it. The other one just hates it in theory. And so there we are.
Awesome. Let's jump into this episode. I've got the quick cap for you this week. This is season 2, episode 7, Butcher, Baker, Candlestick Maker. To help Victoria Newman make a case against Vought, Mallory and the boys look at to an unlikely source for answers. Huey gets terrifying news about Starlight. Meanwhile, Homelander and Stormfront further their master plan for Compound V. Honestly, this was the worst quick cap description all season. Like somebody got real lazy and was like, this happened, this happened, this happened.
Honestly, this is my favorite title though.
Oh yeah, it makes
the best title that they've ever come up with. I was like, this title is so clutch, but also so many things happened in this episode that honestly, they shouldn't even had a quick hit. They should have just written, just watch. And you'll find out a lot of things when you tune in. Man. Woo, Lamplighter.
Yeah.
I think we got Lamplighter and then we did it. It was like a quick 24-hour turnaround is really how it felt in my mind. Supposed to be integral. He's supposed to be integral in Starlight's rescue mission. He's supposed to be integral in taking down Vought. He's supposed to be doing a lot of things. And yet, he takes the easy road out, some might say. And doesn't take accountability for his actions and just kills himself instead.
It's funny because I literally bitched on multiple shows last week about how you can't bring in Shawn Ashmore and then kill him off. And thus they did. And I'd read an interview with Eric Kripke with TV Line, I believe, where he talked about how bummed they were that because they knew the storyline, what they were going to do. And then they cast Shawn Ashmore and then they were sad that they had to kill him.
They're like, man, we should have picked a different actor. Like, darn it. It's like, I understood why he did what he did. I knew kind of actually going in before I even watched this episode that he was likely going to die. I did not expect him to commit suicide. I actually thought that, one of the boys would have just killed him, and moved on. But when he didn't die at the end of episode 6, I was like, okay, I guess they still have some information that they want to get out of him, but he's still definitely going to die. I just didn't expect him and Huey to go on that rescue mission and kind of bond in a lot of ways, which poor Huey, anytime he bonds with someone, they die, honestly. Like, that is the theme of Huey's life. We're getting so close. Something's going to happen to that person for sure. Honestly, maybe Huey's a curse. But anyway, so yes, he ends up, killing himself and just being like, to hell with this. Because ultimately, I do think he knows that, like, he would have died anyway. Like, if he truly would have testified against Vought, Vought would have murdered him. They have no problem killing people. They can do it with ease. So here we are. But R.I.P. Lamplighter.
Yeah, I really, as bummed as I am to lose Shawn Ashmore after 2 episodes, I really liked the story. It made perfect sense to me, that he has nothing to lose. He's haunted by these memories. And, you know, in the interview that I read with Eric Kripke, talked about how Lamplighter made it clear he was suicidal from when he saw Mallory and was like, kill me. I'd rather be dead.
Yes.
So it was clear where we were going. He was like, this is where we're going. So I loved that, that like it connected, which there's another part that also connected beautifully, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But I do like the idea of this rescue mission for Starlight. I do also like that Huey messes everything up.
Always.
He can't do anything right.
I mean, it's in his nature. He's a human being. But to go back to what you said about Mallory, like he still wanted to die, but I still didn't expect him to be suicide. Like I knew he would die, but I didn't expect it to be suicide. I knew he was depressed, and I knew he didn't want to deal with kind of the emotional baggage and weight of all of the choices he had made and kind of the repercussions of those actions. But I still thought, and I knew Mallory wasn't going to kill him, but I still thought someone else was going to kill him. So, but yeah, Huey messes everything up. I mean, he's a human being though. And I think that that's kind of the spin that they're putting on it. He's just a regular guy. So like, generally speaking, because he is, you know, not in, he hasn't been in the armed forces, you know, he's not like a trained ops guy. He literally just works at a store, and he sees a lot of murder all the time, and he's around all of these suits. So he's going to make those kind of, you know, human errors 24/7. And we see that time and time again, which is why I just wish they would let Huey just get a regular job. Like, I mean, like, you know, maybe just do something else, Huey, because this life is not for you, clearly.
I mean, he does get reunited with Starlight, and I do love, you know, we've been wondering what Stormfront's plan for Starlight was, and the plan was scapegoat.
Oh, always. You need a great scapegoat when you're a sociopath, right?
Yeah. I like that it played out and it made sense. And I'm happy that we finally got there. I wonder what the next steps are in that situation, and we'll get to that. I want to talk a little bit about Butcher's dad. Guest star John Noble.
Shout out to Fringe.
Here's my tiny complaint. Neither John Noble nor Carl Urban are English. They're New Zealander and Australian. One of them is one of those, and I don't remember which one's which. But like, neither of them are English, and they're doing this real hard Cockney accent, and I don't like it. That's all. That's my complaint.
Oh, okay. I was like, where's the complaint? But there it is.
That's it. That's my complaint. Accents.
Man, John Noble. I adore Fringe. Like that was one of my favorite sci-fi shows. And he was so good on Fringe. And so seeing him, I was like, oh, yay. But then, you know, his character is a complete asshole. Like, I mean, it was just like, you are abusive, not just, you know, to your sons, but also to your wife, which is odd that she's still with you, you know, for this long, because she's had an opportunity to kind of move forward. And Butcher has kind of, you know, separated himself from his parents for a good reason, because his father is so toxic. And yeah, it explains a lot about Butcher. You know, I feel like this entire season, they're trying to give us clues and reasons as to why everyone is the way that they are. And so, you know, because Butcher and Homelander are the same person, they actually have very similar upbringings. Like that's what we come to find out. They were very abusive households growing up. But it still doesn't excuse their behavior as adults. Like, I mean, at some point, they have to take responsibility for their actions. And so it is interesting to get this backstory. I would prefer a backstory about MM that I see on screen. But it is nice to still get like a complete picture of Butcher, because we, you know, saw his aunt, we've heard about what happened to his brother. You know, we also now have heard what's happened with the dynamic between the father and both sons, and how basically the father doesn't even care that his other son is dead, because he feels like he was the weak one. So,
Yeah. Honestly, I did not necessarily need this whole thing about Butcher's upbringing. Um, I love John Noble. I don't think we needed this. Um, it was kind of a like distraction from the storyline, and I don't know that I'm pretty sure I can confidently say it does not have anything to do with the rest of the season.
I think it'll pay off in a way. I don't think everyone will be satisfied with the payoff, but I think a small portion of it will make sense by the finale.
Okay. Let's talk about Black Noir for a second, because this Almond Joy situation was incredible. In the interview that I read with TV Line and Eric Kripke, this Almond Joy thing has been literally like teased. It like paid off. When he goes down to the security office and is like looking for Butcher, she's eating an Almond Joy and he makes her throw it away. Like, apparently we should have caught this, that he's allergic to tree nuts.
I literally had no knowledge of this. Like, I watched it and was like, if she didn't explain it to Starlight, I truly never would have known. Like, that's one of the things where you have to say, and she's like, oh no, he's allergic. And it's like, oh, okay. Because otherwise I'm just like, are you feeding him a snack in the middle of this like scenario? Like, right. What's happening? And meanwhile, she's like, no. I mean, I intend to harm him. And so it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Like, I feel like for Black Noir to be such a dangerous person, that this was like an easy way out almost. Like, let's just get him where it hurts. Because, as we saw, we started the season off with Black Noir. Someone set him on fire and shot at him and he didn't die. So it is interesting that at the end, it is the Almond Joy that truly takes him down. And
yeah, it feels like the perfect bananas choice that the boys would make. That they'd be like, okay, what's his kryptonite? Oh, it's
Almond Joy.
Tree nuts. He has a tree nut allergy.
I'm pretty sure I've never had an Almond Joy. Like, I was watching that, like, also, I don't think I've ever had this candy bar before. And like, I don't want to, I think I'm okay. But I just feel like I was like, Almond Joy, like there's so many other things that have tree nuts. And I just remember thinking, I've never actually had this. So I know it's a weird thing, but I just was like, is this even delicious? Like, I mean, what is this? Why didn't we choose something else? Is kind of what I did. But
I love it. I think it's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, for me, let's see what happens, because it didn't necessarily kill him. Like, I mean, right. He couldn't breathe, but we don't see anything else beyond that. So I am curious, kind of what happens. And also, quite frankly, I'm not entirely sure what Black Noir's like superpowers are. Like, does he regenerate? Like, does he have regenerative healing powers? Like, I actually don't know. So I'm also curious about that, because they don't really tell us what any of the powers are, if I'm being honest. Like, it's very hard to decipher who does what. So.
Right. Absolutely. No, I agree. And I think that I hope we will be getting more answers. I mean, Black Noir is the big mystery, right? The one that we don't know anything about.
But we did find out that he is Black, because that is something that we found out in this episode, because they keep like speculating
right
about if he's Black or not. But, when he pulls up the mask because he's trying to breathe, and he's trying to look for his EpiPen, and she kicks it, which I was like, God, that really, that like actually really hurt my heart a little bit. Like, I cannot imagine having a severe allergic reaction and someone like kicks your EpiPen. But we did find out that he's Black. So I guess that's kind of the highlight. I don't know. But please, 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 let's talk about Becca, because Becca and this kid have been on a journey. And, I feel terrible for this kid in so many ways. Just because you have Homelander as a father. I'm going to put that in quotes, because
right.
we're not really raised by him. And Becca's really trying hard to kind of give you a sense of normalcy and let you make your own decisions. And, she's raised him. He is the product of rape. There are just so many layers and so many things with this kid. And so, essentially for him to be taken from her, I can't imagine that type of pain. But I'm also like, this kid is not equipped to go with anyone else. Like,
right. Yeah, I agree with you completely. I think that this kid will figure out real quick that he does not want to be where he is, because he's with terrible people. But also, like, as soon as he's like, I would like to do something that Homelander disagrees with, there's going to be a whole bunch of issues. And I want to see how that plays out. And I really hope we do before the season ends. But I feel like that's going to be part of next season, maybe.
I don't know. But I will say, did Stormfront give you Mommy Dearest vibes? Like, she's so creepy. And we know that, like, she is a parent. Her daughter is dead, but we don't know what type of parent she was in her real.
Right.
And so she's like real weird with him. Like, I can't even describe it. It's just like a very, like, Stormfront and Homelander both make me wildly uncomfortable. Like, I say it so many times because they do, like, whenever they're on screen. So shout out to Aya and Anthony, because they're superb actors, but they make me so uncomfortable. And every time they're around this kid, I'm like, this just doesn't feel right. Like, none of this feels right. So I'm not sure if she's going to murder this child or, coddle it. Like, I have no idea. And both are clearly an option. So the fact that Homelander is so invested in Stormfront's relationship with his son, like, oh, she's really important to me. Therefore, like, I want you to get to know her. I'm like, you actually know very little about Stormfront. Like,
right.
You know what she's told you, but you don't know anything outside of that. And so it's kind of too soon for you to be introducing your son to this sociopath.
Absolutely. But he doesn't know that that you don't introduce a child to a new parent until it's something else. And I think that I think you're right. Her behavior towards the child is super creepy and weird. And I think that she also, like Homelander, as soon as this kid does something she doesn't like, I think she will snap. And I think that she's always been a parent like that, who probably was abusive to her kids.
And it's weird too, how it's not weird. Obviously, it's intentional. She's very dismissive of Becca because she knows that Becca is a different type of mother. She's actually loving. She's considerate. She actually, listens to her child and understands his needs. And so everyone's like, oh gosh, we need to make Becca look like the villain. And kids are irrational, so I get it, because they're just trying to figure out life. So they are just going to generally believe what's heard. But when he was like making that speech to his mom, like, you're a liar, you're not even real, it was like, okay, now wait a minute. Let's think about this. She actually is real. Your town is fake. So I get it. Be mad.
Right.
But like, your mom is 100% real. Like, also, like, let's think about this.
I just think they're in this Truman Show life. How come, as soon as it became clear that they were going to kidnap the child, how come Vought didn't swarm, or somebody didn't show up with authority from Vought? Like, they are watching them and they know what's about to happen. It surprises me that Vought didn't step in, even just to like mediate the conversation,
Oh, no. Remember, Vought specifically told her. Remember when she dropped him off at his piano lesson? Which I also kept thinking about that during this episode, because I was like, well, if everyone's fake, then who's giving this piano lesson? But anyway, when they went back, she went to, the tower and talked to them, and they were like, yeah, we're hands off from this point forward. So that's why it wasn't surprising to me, because they had already washed their hands of her. And so, she knew that the only person that she would be able to rely on, or she knows the only person who would even be able to help her is Butcher. Because, everyone else is kind of like, yeah, whatever, because they don't want to engage Homelander. That's exactly what they told her. And so they know he's wildly unstable. They're like, oh, he'll get over this in a few. So what they're probably thinking is he'll take the kid for a little bit. He'll get tired of the kid. He'll return the kid, which, to be fair, is a really good assumption, because generally speaking, that is how Homelander operates. But I don't know. We'll just have to see kind of next episode in the finale and beyond kind of what this parental situation really looks like for Homelander, for Stormfront, and then where that leaves Becca. Because, I mean, quite frankly, like, you know, apart from the storyline with her son, we don't get much else from her. If I'm being honest, there's not much else happening for her because, you know, she's already made the choice to separate from Butcher and she's chosen her son. So without her son, who is she? And what lengths will she go to get her son back from, you know, the two biggest sociopaths on the planet? So we'll see. But I will say my favorite part of this episode, we're here, was the hearing, the Vought hearing. It was the most insane thing I've ever seen. Like, honestly, I was like, what? Like and it was weird because it was like every 15 seconds, someone's head is exploding. I was like, is it over? No, it's not over because here it is. It's like mass chaos and people are exploding. And I was just like, oh, okay. So it looks like we'll never take Vought down. I mean, that's where we're at.
Right.
Because obviously they have someone working with them or for them or someone on the inside who doesn't want any of their secrets out. And they're willing to go through great lengths, like basically blow up an entire courtroom full of people.
It seemed random, the heads that were being exploded. Like some of them were intentional, but some of them did seem random. And that I think is very interesting because we are, I think, to assume that Vought was behind it. And I can't take credit for this theory because I'm pretty sure it was my roommate. So I'm stealing his theory that the church might somehow be involved, which would be super interesting since we still don't know what their plan or goal is. And I think it would be very, very interesting if this is somehow related to them and ties them back into the story. It's very odd that this happened. I mean, I didn't expect the hearings to go as planned. I expected him to be assassinated by one of the seven. Like, I definitely didn't think that we'd get the hearings that we have been waiting for. So I just didn't expect heads to blow up.
Yeah, I'm going to say I expected a single murder. I did not expect a multitude of murder, you know, and I also think that it's intentional, the random heads that were blown up. I think it's intentional to make you go down a certain path of who you think might be behind it. So I agree with that. I don't think the church is behind it, but I do think it's Vought, and Vought may be in bed with someone else that we still have yet to figure out or know. But it was so gory. And I was like, oh my gosh, how many people are going to die in this courtroom scene? I just remember saying that to myself literally over and over again. But yeah, it would not stop. And yet the heads I wanted to roll didn't. So
I'm really glad that it looked like Victoria Newman got out and her head did not explode.
Oh my gosh. And Mallory got out, surprisingly, because I actually thought that Mallory would have been one of the heads to roll because she pokes the bear a lot.
Yes.
When it comes to Vought. And so I definitely expected her to be like one of the first two. And I was just hoping that one of the soups would be like a casualty. But
yeah. On that note,
wait, but I will say,
yes.
What was Cindy? I think everyone expects it maybe to be Cindy because that power is similar. Remember, like we saw Cindy in the psychiatric
right
use her hands and someone's head exploded. And we don't know where Cindy is right now. You know, I immediately thought like, oh, is Cindy behind this? But then what would, you know, like she should hate Vought because like they locked her up, they've experimented on her. So I personally would think that she would kill some other people, not them. But it's interesting that we have, if it's not Cindy, then that means we have more than one soup with the same power, which we haven't really seen before. Like the same kind of like main power we haven't seen.
Yeah. Something so similar. Absolutely. I think that's a really great point. And we haven't seen Cindy since she escaped. So.
Right. So that was something that crossed my mind. So I'm like, oh, okay.
with that, it's time to rate this episode. For those who are new to Super Lady Hero Hour, we rate things here on a scale from poop to kittens. That's right, everything can be rated very simply from poop to kittens or anywhere in between. I will start this week. I, aside from the John Noble stuff, I'm giving this
from the accent.
no. Aside from that detour that we took, I'm giving this episode kittens. I really liked this episode. Aside from like, I didn't care about Butcher's parents. I love the head exploding. As much as like I was bummed that Lamplighter, I didn't want Shawn Ashmore to be gone. I do like the way they chose to do it. I think it played out well. I think it made sense. I think story-wise it was good. I think Black Noir's kryptonite being an almond joy is so ridiculous. I love it. Like I really enjoyed this episode.
An almond joy. So I will say, I actually enjoyed this episode too. I thought about it the entire time I was watching. I was like, oh my gosh, Yael's gonna love this because she gets a lot of answers. And so yeah, I do feel like it progressed the storyline way more than maybe like the first 4 episodes even. I feel like just in this episode it really did kind of push us further, and to be fair, I actually did like the first 4 episodes, but I'm just thinking just in terms of the progress. So I liked it. I did think that like the head exploding was way too violent for me. Like I was just like, all right, y'all, like whoo. But I did like it. I like seeing John Noble because I miss Fringe dearly, and maybe I'll rewatch it soon. And I really liked this kind of Starlight rescue mission where, Huey and Starlight reunite and they kind of have an understanding. Starlight and her mom kind of reunite and hopefully they're on the same page, and her mother learns to be quiet because that is her mother's biggest issue. Girl, just be quiet because you are causing a lot of extra chaos. And quite frankly, what I have noticed too that the show is doing is that Huey and Starlight's mom are very, very similar. And it's probably part of the reason why Starlight's mom doesn't, like Huey, but they have a lot of similarities in how they approach life and also how they approach Starlight. So, I think that they are always thinking that they're doing what's best. And then somehow it ends up being screwed up. So, but I enjoyed seeing that, and I enjoyed seeing their interaction. And yeah, so I'm going to give it a kitten too. But just one. Like I'm not going to get crazy. It's not going to get like 5 kittens. Okay. But I did think that this episode was helpful, and I do think that it'll help us tie up some loose ends in the finale. But I have to ask, what was your badass or WTF moment of this week?
Yes, WTF moment of this week was just heads exploding. It reminded me of the first Kingsman movie.
Yeah, I love that movie though.
Where like the music plays and it's a beautiful like symphony of heads exploding, and I thought, what is happening? And I loved it. I like gore. I don't like scary, but I like gore. So I really enjoyed all these heads blowing up.
Yes, I mean, I feel like definitely it takes the WTF moment of the week, probably for everyone. Again, like lately, because everything I've been watching feels very violent for some strange reason, like I just need to watch something happier, I feel like. I just watched it and I was like, guys, this is way too violent for me. It wasn't gory. Like, I mean, honestly, like I've seen enough gore. I'm fine with gore. Blood doesn't bother me. But I just was like, oh, so many people are dying in this scene. Like, my gosh. But I mean, that's the nature of The Boys. It's an exceptionally violent show. Like, you know what you're getting yourself into. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think there was any other scene that really, well, Lamplighter suicide, actually, also very violent and very jarring as well. So that would probably be my number 2 kind of WTF. All right, so what are your predictions? The finale is around the corner. We have made it to episode 8. It is just, 4 days away at this point. What do you think is gonna happen?
Oh my goodness. I think we're gonna set up a whole new mystery. I think that we're gonna barely conclude on some things. I have
favorite thing.
I have like the lowest expectations. I hope that the finale is violent and gory. And I hope there are more almond joy moments where I'm like, what the hell? Really? Are you kidding me? More, what was it? Love sausage moments where you're shouting, what is that? That's what I'm hoping for in this finale. What about you?
I think that we are going to tie some things up. I think Rebecca's storyline will be tied up. I mean, I don't think that it can go much further. Like, what are we going to do? Your son's not here. We haven't really kind of written you as a character that will do much else. Do you know what I mean? So I just anticipate that that's coming. I'm sure we'll see A-Train come back in some capacity, and the Deep, because they're in this church of the collective, throes of everything with the church, and so that's going to tie into it. Obviously, we'll be getting more time with Homelander, his son, since he kidnapped him. So, I mean, that's happening. We've seen kind of glimpses of Kimiko and Frenchie kind of moving in a different direction. So we'll see kind of more of that and where that goes. And honestly, like at this point, Huey saved Starlight, so they're basically back together. I mean, like, honestly, at this point, the will they, won't they, I feel like is going to be settled, because there's a lot of back and forth, but like, y'all clearly like each other. I get that it's been complicated in the past. I get that things happen, but can we just like do that? Also, I would love for Huey to, again, like I said at the beginning of this episode, like, what does Huey want to do with his life? I said it last week. I mean, like, truly, what do you want to do? Because you're no good at this. So, like, let's figure that out. And so maybe we could do that. You know what else maybe we could do? CMM's backstory.
You've inspired me. I think that Becca's going to join the boys.
Ooh.
And that their new mission is going to be to save the kid. I've all of a sudden your words have inspired that thought. And I think the church is going to just gloss over till next season, and they're going to be the big bad for next season.
I mean, they should be the big bad for next season, because we don't have one right now, right? Like, I mean, for the most part, it's like we know what Stormfront's up to. We have some ideas, et cetera, but the church kind of crept in like a thief in the night. And so we'll see. Now, Stan Edgar. I feel like he was wildly underutilized this season. I'm going to say it. Giancarlo is perfect as an actor. I don't know him personally, but as an actor, he is extraordinary and he's exceptional. And I feel like we didn't really get to dive into that. So I'm hoping he's our ace in the hole for season 3, and we really get to see more of him. Because, I mean, what we do know is that even in the boys, money is power, right? Like, there's obviously like an additional layer of 1%ers and people with tons of money who are making all the calls. And Stan's a part of that. And I would like to see where that goes. And obviously Vought is making deals with the church. So that means the church has a lot of money and power and influence as well. And I would just really like to see how that plays out. But
I agree. I totally agree. And next week, when we discuss the season finale, we have a guest, do we not?
Yes. So next week, we are going to have a special guest, which we will announce on Twitter. She actually is fantastic. She writes comics, lives, eats, and breathes comics, loves the boys. And so she's like super well-versed, super knowledgeable. So she's going to be a really good addition to next week's finale episode. And then we can finally wrap up all of our thoughts and really see how we felt about this season as a whole, for sure. Because, I mean, we have been on a journey. That is the truth.
And we will be back at our regular time on Sundays at 4 p.m. Pacific.
Yes,
but until then, Kay-B, where can everyone keep up with you, and where will you be announcing this guest?
On Twitter, and everything is at the Lady Kay-B. So that's Twitter, that's Instagram. It is right here for you to see at TheLadyKayB. And, you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel through the lens of Lady Kay-B. I mostly just post my interviews that I do with lots of different various websites, so that you guys have another place that you can go to, and you can catch all the interviews with all of the things that I've been doing. And so that's it. Follow on Twitter and we'll see what the week is ahead. But yes, we will announce the guest for this week on Twitter. So follow myself, follow Yael. Yael, what else are you up to this week? I know that you've already done your gaming, your Twitch show, but what else are you doing? And what else are you watching for Streaming Wars?
Oh my goodness. Yes. So I'm everywhere at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. On Twitch, I just played Saturday Night Slam Masters, which is a wrestling game on Super Nintendo. If you'd like to see someone be terrible at a game, that's the show for you. I'll be back on Wednesday for Chit Chat O'Clock, where we're just talking on Twitch. I'm also, again, on Streaming Wars, which will be on Saturday. I believe we have a guest this week. You'll have to wait to find out who that is. And
watch this week.
What was that?
What did you guys watch this week for Streaming Wars?
Oh my goodness, so much good stuff. We just talked about Emily in Paris, which came out last week, and there's a lot of stuff coming out this week. You'll just have to wait to see about it on Saturday. And that is on that hashtag show. This is Fanversation. Make sure you have subscribed here so you don't miss a single episode of Super Lady Hero Hour. I feel like there's something I'm forgetting. But I think we're good. We'll see you.
I think subscribe, and that's it. Like, if you subscribe, everything else will fall into place, and all of our info is there. So,
yes. So are the interviews with the stars of The Boys, all below in the description here from Fanversation.
Yes,
we'll see you next
time. We had so much fun.
Yes. See you next week.